Hello and welcome to the Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing business in small towns in the Midwest, U.S. I'm your host, Allison Hassler with Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals.
And Allison, I'm Russell Williams I'm the director of Ethos Small Business Incubator and Co-working Spaces located in downtown Marion, Illinois, and you are joining us in the Citadel building, historic building here on Tower Square Plaza. We first want to thank our sponsors for making the Small Town Big Business podcast possible, and that includes Fowler Heating and Cooling, Arcadia Wealth Group, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Swinford Media Group, and also our producer at Union Street Arts.
And you can join our small town big business community by subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform. We are on all the things: Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Podbean, Apple, and YouTube. Subscribing is free and you won't miss upcoming episodes released every 2 weeks. And we're on Facebook Live.
If you want to know more about the Small Town Big Business podcast or the Ethos Co-working Spaces and Small Business Incubator here in Marion, Illinois, you can contact me at russell@watermarkethos.org. You can find us on Facebook too at Ethos at the Citadel on Tower Square.
If you're new to our podcast, welcome. We interview successful business owners to find out why and how their businesses thrive in small towns. And today, our guest is Sam Swinford with AthElite Sports Management Company. Thank you and welcome to our show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, enjoying this rainy day that we get to be inside interviewing you.
Sam, we got to interview your dad and brother with Swinford Media Group, and we talked about interviewing you at that time, so we're excited about having you here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. They came back from the interview and said, hey, I think you may be next, and so here I am, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Tell us about the company.
Yeah, so AthElite Sports Management, I kind of describe it as a full-service sports management firm, but kind of specializing on youth sports and youth sports tourism, which is kind of a growing industry. Most of what I do, most of what we do is event operation, so weekend tournaments in different markets kind of throughout the Midwest, where we go to a destination for a weekend, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and host sports events for youth teams, travel teams that come to that destination, and they stay in hotels, and they kind of submerge themselves into the community for the weekend, and they gas their cars, and they eat at the restaurants, and then obviously they play their games, and we're able to provide kind of the platform and the stage, and they're able to come and enjoy time in different communities and different places, and kind of turns it into a little bit of a playcation, if you will, an opportunity to play the sports that they enjoy or that they're passionate about, while also, traveling out of maybe their typical area.
That's a really unique business. How did you get into this?
I guess basketball has always been my passion. I played travel basketball starting in 4th grade, all the way up through, and played here at Marion High School as well, and then went off and played college basketball, first at Southeastern Illinois College in Harrisburg, and then went up to a school in St. Louis. And while I was in St. Louis, I worked for the St. Louis Sports Commission for a year, and then my second year I worked for the St. Louis Blues. So kind of really dove into event operation, kind of at a high scale with the Sports Commission. I was able to work on the NCAA tournament and the gymnastics Olympic trials and some other events, and found, oh my gosh, I enjoy, I guess you always see the finished product on TV or the finished product, when it's out in bits and pieces, but you don't see all of the work and the time that goes into what makes these events successful. So I was able to kind of see it from the back end and realized I enjoyed it, realized, maybe this is where my skill set was and what I enjoyed. And so kind of paired my passion for basketball and my passion for sports growing up with, kind of the business back end side of it, and knew that that's kind of what I wanted to do after I graduated, and wanted to try and capture that energy and that, that hustle and that business side of it from, the larger events, and find a way to scale it to youth sports and, different smaller markets and things like that.
Yeah. And you coach now too.
I do. I coach at SIC, where I played, Southeastern Illinois College over in Harrisburg. I just finished my first year as the head coach there.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
So did you see that there was a gap in this industry where this really, maybe there was only a couple of companies doing this, or not any companies at all in the youth area or the youth arena? How did you find a gap and fill that gap, or is this something that you submerged yourself in?
I would say it's been kind of a mix of both. There are, groups that do kind of similar things to what I do as far as the youth events. Most of those are in, I guess, large market cities. I guess saw some of these, first growing up when I was playing in these events, and we would travel to St. Louis or Chicago or Louisville and see these groups that host them. But as far as something like this and a place like Marion, I knew there was kind of a gap there. So while I was in St. Louis for college and loved, being in the city and loved living that pace, saw that there was kind of a hole, I guess first at home for me in Marion, but also in other, I guess, small to mid-sized markets. And so I've found success hosting in places like Paducah and Cape Girardeau and Owensboro, Kentucky, and places that maybe typically don't get these large events and aren't able to draw 100 teams like maybe St. Louis or Chicago would. And so tried to kind of, I guess, again, take the larger feel and bring it to kind of these smaller markets.
Yeah. Do you like resources being in a small town setting? Would it work better in the city setting? I mean, where do you find value there? Yeah,
I think I find my value in the small to mid-sized. Obviously, if you go to a city, there's more teams, there's more venues, that sort of thing. But with that, there's more competition, and there's more. I guess they have more options, different options. Maybe there's people established. So I've been able to kind of fall into a niche of taking the events that maybe you would find in a St. Louis or Chicago, and then try to replicate that in a market and partnering with CVBs and tourism bureaus in those places that are like, okay, bring these people to our town and let's fill up hotels and let's push them through our restaurants and do all those sorts of things, and it kind of works out nicely.
Okay. And you have to build strong relationships with the hotels and those other tourism venues.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's a big part of what I do is, I guess, creating those relationships and working closely with those people to make sure it's a success. I can control a lot on the basketball court or the playing field over the course of a weekend, but want to be able to make sure it's a full experience for our teams and those who travel to the event. So to be successful at that, you have to I guess work hand in hand with the tourism people and the hospitality people kind of in those markets to make sure it's a success from the second they arrive in the town to the second they leave.
Sure.
Your dad is an entrepreneur, and so is your brother. So it probably wasn't a really big step or a leap of faith for you to go into a business for yourself.
Sure.
But did you consider this as the only option is for you to just establish this business yourself, or was there another option to kind of bring another sports company into the area, or how did you get that started as a business?
Yeah. So I guess the roots of AthElite, the roots of what I do started when I was in high school. I was a senior and I was still playing travel basketball, and I guess kind of part of his entrepreneur drive. My brother Riley has always had his own travel team that I played for, and it was my senior year and I wanted to get recruited and I wanted to go to these places and do these things, and obviously that's expensive and it costs money. So I was like, hey, how about we host an event and we host a tournament, and I guess AthElite was born and kind of January of my senior year of high school, in the form of social media pages and you know, very bare bones stuff where I started to try to foster some of those relationships and meet some of those people, and hosted kind of my first tournament in April of that year, April of 2017. But again, just bare bones, wasn't necessarily a business, and was more of a fundraiser. Excuse me. More of a fundraiser for the team that we had, and then saw kind of the potential and saw the business side of it and how, you know, impactful this could be. I guess for me as a business opportunity, but also for the communities that I would go to. And then it's kind of grown from there. And obviously, like you said, having my dad and my brother kind of in the entrepreneur space, it was easy to go to them and say, hey, what do I need to do logistically to make this work? But also, you know, just growing up around them and seeing them take their passion and grow it into what it is now and what they have has been inspirational and has been, I guess, really, tangible proof that, like, hey, this can be done, I can do this. And so as I got to the end of college, and that was right kind of at the peak of COVID and everything else. And I'm a sports management major looking for a sports management job, and currently there's no sports anywhere. I had to try and decide, you know, do I want to try to apply and maybe, you know, sit on something till sports comes back? And it was scary and terrifying of, oh my gosh, what's this going to look like? But knew, okay, I've done these, I guess, weekend tournaments for a few years now. I've seen the opportunity. I've created the relationships. Let's just dive in head first and you know, create it into a business, and I've kind of grown it since then.
Cool. Well, what's daily operations look like for you? Because you've got a storefront, office space, and I've driven around the square here where you're located after dark, and you're the only light that's open on the square.
You're still there.
I'm like, what's going on? Well, what is he doing in there? Right? So what are you doing?
Yeah. So the events, I guess, is the kind of the centerpiece of what I do at the moment. So there's a lot of man hours that go into that, a lot of time that's spent planning, and I guess I'm kind of on the clock when everybody else is off the clock, because so much of what I do is driven by relationships with these, you know, coaches and of course, you know, the facilities and the tourism people. But as far as, I guess, the teams themselves go, kind of the youth scene, you don't end up with many coaches that it's their full-time gig to coach 9U basketball. Sure. So a lot of times, you know, when you need to hop on the phone or hop on Zoom and try to forge these relationships, it's hard to find time in the 9 to 5 because they're doing their day job, and you've got to catch them, you know, before they go or after they go. So I guess when the light is on late at night, a lot of times I'm in there, you know, talking with those people, building those relationships. And then operations wise, when I'm there throughout the day, it's a lot of planning, a lot of coordinating with venues, a lot of creating marketing materials. I do a lot of my own kind of website creation and web design and a lot of the flyers and all of that for my own events. And then I'm able to offer that kind of to other groups that do similar things, but maybe aren't versed in creating some of those things that they're able to use me for marketing, and I'm able to help them push out information and do things like that.
So do you have employees, or is it a family affair, or how's that work?
Yeah, it's as far as AthElite goes, it's me. Obviously, 3 steps away is the family, and so, you know, it turns into a family affair. If it's, hey, I need help real quick, I need an extra set of hands, or can you carry? I'm lucky enough to have my dad and my brother next door, and then also, of course, they've got Rachel and the others that work with them there that are fantastic and always willing to help. I guess as far as, you know, employees, for me, a lot of that comes into play throughout the weekend as I staff, officials and site coordinators, and you need concession stand workers and gate workers and all of those things. So I guess a lot of very temporary employees over the course of a weekend that I have to coordinate and staff and touch base with and quickly train up, and then when the weekend's over, that's their responsibility.
It's not good for you when the referee doesn't show up.
Well, that's right. I throw the stripes on and I'm out there.
Get out there yourself.
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, before I ask what your favorite part of being a business owner is, I first want to ask, do you have a favorite sport that you like to host?
Yeah, I think basketball is the favorite, will probably always be the favorite. That's the only sport I ever personally played, and I coach it, and so it helps to be really super familiar with it, but it's also just where my passion lies, and so I'd say basketball is the favorite.
Good. Any close runner-up?
Close runner-up, probably not. I'm growing more and more interested in baseball and softball and that scene, and jumping into that and learning that kind of as I go. I've always been a very casual, baseball fan and Cardinals fan, but as far as the logistics of the back end and what do the coaches like or what do the coaches not like or what do the athletes need out of an event like this, I'm kind of learning as I go.
Do you see that as an opportunity for your company to grow in those spaces?
Absolutely. Yep. Over time, I've got goals to grow into baseball and softball more and volleyball, and there's some other kind of summertime events in other sports as far as 7-on-7 football and some other things that I would love to grow into and move into, but just want to make sure I am as versed in those as I am in basketball and some of baseball and softball before I jump into it and try to put out a good product.
Because these sports arenas aren't necessarily in-house as far as management. For instance, like Southern Illinois University or University of Illinois, they're looking at professional sports management to come in. And same for the baseball complex and soccer fields and things like that. I mean, they do employ people, but then professionally they're looking for people that have expertise in that area. So that's wide open. Yeah, that's a place a lot of people have success is coming in and operating day-to-day kind of operations at whether it's a professional venue or college venues or even just a sports-specific like sports complex. You're exactly right. A lot of times it's people from the outside that come in and help them grow and get off the ground and help them operate. That's excellent.
So what is your favorite part about being a business owner?
Yeah, that's I got that on the email the beforehand, and I was like, man, wow, that's the hardest one. But I think I enjoy, the passion, being able to take what I do or take what I've always loved and always known, and have the opportunity to make that my job. And obviously it's the oldest cliche there is that if you love what you do, you never work a day. And that is true. However, the ability to kind of grow from an athlete and transition to running my business and take a lot of the qualities I learned as a basketball player and an athlete and turn it into what I do, I guess now as a business owner, but also have those still be so closely connected because I play basketball, I coach basketball, and now the ability to operate, I guess, youth sports events is closely knit. But the ability to take the passion and turn it into your job is what I enjoy, and then the freedom obviously is a large part of what I enjoy. And I think there's a misconception that when you are an entrepreneur that you can work in your pajama pants from your couch and work 30 minutes a day and call it a job, and that's not the case. But the freedom, I guess, more so to pour into it what I want it to be and what I want it to look like, and put out a product based on my skills and based on what I know and based on what I've seen and the experiences I've had is something I really enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you have some tremendous strengths for this particular position. One is the entrepreneurship, skills, because not everybody thinks, I'll go back to my hometown and do this because I love this and I see a gap, right? That's a particular skill set, because I think majority of people are like, I need a good job with a good corporation or a good company that does this, but I just want to be in it. I don't want to be the number one person.
Absolutely.
And for you to say, I'm going to start this from scratch, right? I've got experience. I see how it's done, but from scratch. It's kind of scary.
It is.
Is it scary?
It has been. Absolutely. And as much as it's scary, it's exciting and fulfilling and rewarding. But, there's absolutely times where it's terrifying, because you aren't just a part of something. You are it, and trying to hold yourself accountable and hold yourself, responsible for tasks that have to be done, because it's not, you don't have somebody telling you, hey, today we're doing this, and this. It's terrifying, but especially when you, accomplish those tasks, it's very fulfilling.
So where do you find support when things don't go the way you thought they might?
Sure, like emotional support or
any type of support.
Yes. I lean on, to Allison's point, my dad and my brother, they've been in the entrepreneur scene much longer than I have. So to be able to go to them and say, oh man, this isn't going right, or frankly, this is going completely wrong. They're able to offer support and wisdom and advice of, logistically, here's what you do, or mentally or spiritually or whatever. Here's how you can get through this. Here's how you can, keep being excited to show up every day and work at your passion. Yeah.
That's good.
Do you have any challenges that come up or maybe even just the least favorite parts of being your own boss that you can think of?
I guess maybe not least favorite, but the hardest is definitely the accountability, because while freedom is a fantastic thing, it's also easy to it could be very easy to just say, nobody's expecting me to be there outside of myself, so I'll hit the snooze and go back to bed and whatever. So that the hardest part, the biggest obstacle is, just holding myself to a standard that's maybe beyond even what I would see in a cookie cutter job in this industry that I could have hopped into, just to ensure that things are successful and that I'm continuing to scale up and continuing to grow, based solely on my effort and my time, more so than taking advantage of complete freedom and just saying, I don't feel like it today or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. Has sports taught you that discipline?
I think so. Obviously that is a humongous part of sports, that if you want to continue to see growth, if you want to continue to see improvement, there's no way to do that besides kind of work at it and work at your craft. And for me as a basketball athlete, it was always, okay, if I'm not shooting well enough, or if I want to shoot better, the only way to fix that is to go to the gym and shoot and work and get better. So I think that discipline, that was instilled into me from a super young age, is carried now into business life. And then also, as an athlete, there's plenty of days that you have practice at 8 a.m. and you don't want to go, and you're tired and you're sore from the game the night before or whatever it may be, but you've got to find something within yourself to go and do it. And I think when you've got the passion about what you do, whether it's as an athlete or as a business owner, when you've got that drive for whatever it is that you do, it makes it easy to kind of power through and continue to show up.
Yeah. Plus, you've been in the spotlight. So as a basketball player and as a coach, you can't avoid the spotlight.
Sure.
Like you're out there in the floor, and there's could be 1,000 people watching you in some of the bigger venues.
Sure.
And so I think as a small business owner, a lot of times we get intimidated. We don't want to be the person, like we want our company to be marketed. We want to advertise. We don't want to be the person in front of the camera.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's an advantage for you.
Yeah.
I think you feeling comfortable of being in the spotlight is a great advantage for your company.
Sure. No, I agree.
So So do you have any special challenges with being in a small town, trying to build this this management company for small towns? And because I know that it's not just Marion, you said that mentioned Owensboro and Paducah. You said Owensboro, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so we have some small and mid-sized towns that you're bringing. Have you found amount of support or amount of challenge that you go into these small towns?
Yeah, I think, and it's part of what made it so easy to graduate from school and leave St. Louis and leave kind of the hustle and bustle of city life and come back home to our market is that there is support everywhere. I'm here on the square, obviously, and the energy here and the excitement, even, in this nucleus of our town right now is phenomenal. And to have to be in a place where your mayor is walking by and we talked off camera and he's sweeping and he's saying he knows you by name and he's asking how you're doing and how he can help, and to have support from throughout, I guess, local government and local business and to have other people who, while they might not be in the same, I guess, industry, but maybe face some of the same struggles close by, that you're able to really get to know and really get to know what they do is so helpful when trying to grow a business and trying to kind of carve out what you do. I guess as far as, like you said, growing a management company first for small markets, kind of in a small market, I think that's a major benefit, because when I go to some of these other places, it's relatable and it's familiar and it's comfortable because their support within their community is similar to what we have here. So I understand, that sometimes people wear a lot of different hats, or these aren't massive markets with a ton of resources and those things. So I don't have to try to take, I guess maybe city life and simplify it to small to mid-sized markets. I can take what I know here and have seen here and grown up in here, and then apply it to markets that are I guess, similar.
Yeah, I could see that being really refreshing to those that maybe you're newly establishing relationships with, where they can find it very supportive that you are from a small town, that this is your niche, and that you're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, so to speak, and Absolutely. That they're going to say, he's going to get it because our coaches are part-time and our referees are. So I can see where that's really refreshing for them to, when you are newly establishing those relationships, that they're going to say, oh, well, Sam's going to get this because it's probably not a new issue for him. He'll know how to overcome it.
Right. No, I think that's exactly right. And instead of, I guess, trying to capture, that energy of larger cities or larger markets and, I guess, again, just bring it to smaller areas and smaller markets. It's instead, hey, how can we make this the best possible event for your community? And being in a similar community, I think, certainly helps with that. Yeah.
As a small business owner, Sam, where do you think your growth opportunity is as far as where you want to grow?
Sure.
We're a small business incubator, so if we could offer something here for you, what do you think that might be?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I want to grow here. I want to grow here in Marion, and I see plenty of opportunity. I hope to become more and more established here in our town, and hopefully get to the point where events here are very routine and very regular, and something that I'm able to bring what I've done, I guess, in outside markets to, I guess, my market, my community, and where I'm rooted. Growth over time, for what I do, and especially in the event operation space, is just, I guess, looks like kind of like we touched on, more sports and more events and more weekends. And obviously with that, you need more support and you need more help and more hands on deck. And so as I grow over time, I hope that that's where I get to, that it's instead of maybe 10 of these events a year, that it turns to 15 to 20 and on up from there, and that I'm able to employ others to work on these and train them on these and say, hey, here's where I've had success. You work on this event and you go and you host it somewhere else, or you host it here internally or wherever. So growth-wise, I guess that's how I envision it.
Well, and those management skills that you learned in school and now you're applying is something that we need to tap into ourselves here, because we don't have that experience. And I think you would be awesome, especially with coaching.
Absolutely. Coaching
sports and then coaching business owners. Definitely going to approach you someday about that. That'd be great.
No, please do. And I've had a lot of fun with that and seeing growth within myself, even in the last year, where I guess I didn't realize how closely they would, my two, I guess, hats of coaching and business owning would kind of work together. But as I've grown as a coach, I've also grown as a business owner and vice versa. And that's been a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Well, do you want to leave us with any advice you have for budding entrepreneurs, or even what you would have given yourself as you were starting out?
Yeah, I guess, start now. And that's a pretty standard answer. That's a pretty typical answer. But I went and talked to Mrs. Hudgens' business class last week and had a ton of questions. Hey, when did you start this? And I was able to tell them, hey, this was born when I was your age and your shoes. So find your passion, whatever that may be. And while it may not be sports, but find what you love, find what you enjoy, and start finding ways to get involved and see how it can grow, where your passion and your job can be very blurred and very much together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We were in that class not too long ago.
Is that right?
Were.
Yeah. We were supposed to be doing a joint program, and Allison was so passionate about her business, and the students were like asking questions. Like, I had to leave. I didn't say anything. So I got to come back. So but I tease Allison about that too. So thank you. Well, thank you, Sam Swinford.
Yes,
AthElite
absolutely.
Sports Management in Marion, Illinois. How can we get a hold of you or somebody watching us?
Sure. I'm online at AthEliteSportsManagement.com, AthElite. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, kind of under the same name. And then I can be reached via email at sam@AthEliteSportsManagement.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
We want to thank you for watching and listening to Small Town Big Business and joining our Small Town Big Business community. We also want to thank our sponsors again for making this possible: Fowler Heating and Cooling, Arcadia Wealth Group, Swinford Media Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Watermark Auto Group, and Union Street Arts, and especially our producer and recorder, Luke O'Neill at Union Street Arts.
And you can look to the Small Town Big Business episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Podbean, and Apple. And you can also find us on the YouTube channel and watch videos of the episodes there and on Facebook. So subscribing is free, and you won't miss upcoming episodes that are released every 2 weeks. I'd like to thank you again for joining us today. I'm Allison Hassler.
And I'm Russ Williams.
Thank you.